morning, everyone, especially to our dearest instructor, Ma'am Nicole De Vega. I am Micaela M. Magno and I am from the Group 6. Today, I'm going to tackle about the phylum Annellids. First, what is Annellids? Annelids is a kind of earthworm that has tiny rings. The word annelids comes from the Latin word annulus, meaning little rings. This means that the annelids are segmented worms. When we say segmented worms, they are vertebrates belonging to the phylum Annelida or annelids, characterized by their bodies being divided into repeating sections or segments. To broaden and widen your knowledge about the segmentation of the annelids, of course, let's proceed to the segmentation of annelids. The segmentation of annelids is called homonymous metamerism, which means that the body segments are identical throughout the body. As you can see in this PPT, the meaning of metamerism is the repeating body segment within an organism. There also have two types of metamerism, which are the homonymous metamerism and heteronomous metamerism. When you're going to differentiate the two types of metamerism, always put on your mind that the homonymous is the repeating identical segments, while heteronomous is a repeating non-identical segments. Now, let's proceed to the circulation of annelids. Annelids has a closed circulatory system based on the article that we've read. In a closed circulatory system, blood is always contained within blood vessels. For example, as I said a while ago or earlier, earthworms have a simple closed circulatory system with a dense dorsal vessel, ventral vessel, and 5 pairs of heart, and those parts can be seen in annelids, and those parts help to pump the blood through a continuous enclosed circuit. While sa humans, we have a complex closed circulatory system where a four-chambered heart pumps blood through arteries, capillaries, and veins, and it never leaves this vessel to directly bath the organs. In both cases, gas and nutrient exchange with tissues occurs across the thin walls of the tiny capillaries, rather than the blood flowing into open body cavities as in an open circulatory system. Further, there are two major type of blood vessels, and those are the ventral vessels that carries blood from head to the tail, and dorsal vessels that the flow of blood from the tail to the head. And yes, that's what I'm. And today, I'm going to give the floor to my partner who's going to tackle about the movement of annelids and of course the classification of annelids.
Good day, everyone. Today, I will be giving an extended discussion about annelids, focusing on how they move and how they are classified. Annelids are very interesting groups of animal because although they look simple, their movement and body structure are actually very advanced. So, first, how annelids move. Annelids, such as earthworms and marine worms, depend on a combination of muscles, fluids pressure, and special structures to move. Their movement is not random. It's a highly coordinated process. So the first is hydrostasis. hydrostatic skeleton. To begin with, annelids have what is called a hydrostatic skeleton. This means that instead of bones, their body is supported by fluid pressure inside a cavity called a column. The column is filled with liquid, and when the annelid contracts its muscles, the pressure of the fluid changes. This pressure allows the worm to maintain its shape and push its body forward. You can imagine a balloon filled with water. If you squeeze on a side, the water moves and the change of the shape. That is almost exactly how the annelid's body works. So second, muscle layers for movement. Annelids have two major muscle layers. First, the circular muscle, which is wrapped around the body. Second is the longitudinal muscles, which run lengthwise. This muscle, these muscles works in an alternating patterns, extending the body. When the circular muscle contract, the worm becomes longer and thinner. This pushes the front part of the worm forward, anchoring and contracting. Next, the annelid uses structure called setae, tiny bristles like projection that stick out from their body. These setae help anchor the worm to soil or surface so that it doesn't slip backward. Some annelids also have parapodia, which are paddle-like or leg-like extension used not only for anchoring but also for swimming or crawling. After anchoring, the worms contract its longitudinal muscles which pull the rest of the body forward. And the third, the movement cycle. Once the front part of the worm has moved forward and is anchored, the posterior or tail end follows. This repeating cycle, extend, anchor, and contract, is what allows annelids to move smoothly through soil, mud, or water. This type of movement is called peristaltic motion, which is also seen in the human digestive system. So, let's go for the classification of annelids. Annelids are diverse group, and scientists classify them into three main classes: the polykit, the oligokit, and the heterodynia. In this discussion, I will focus mainly on the first class, which is the polykit. Class polykit. First, the habitat of class polykit. Polychaetes are found mostly in marine environments, meaning they live in oceans and seas. They can be found crawling on the ocean floor, burrowing in sand, or swimming freely in the water. The body structure. The body structure of polychaete have a distinct head, which is more developed compared to earthworms. Their head may have an antenna, eyes, jaws, and sensory organs, which help them respond to their environment. Their most noticeable feature is their many bristles, called setae. which are attached to the structure called parapodia. These parapodia help them move, allow them to swim, and even assist them in breathing since they increase surface area for gas exchange. They often appear colorful or segmented, making them one of the most visually striking group of annelids. Example of these are the sandworms, ragworms, clamworms. These worms plays an important role in marine ecosystem because they help in nutrient cycling and serve as food for fish and other animals. Now, let's go to the class Oligochaete. The habitat of Oligochaete is the member of this class are mostly found in fresh water and terrestrial environments. You will often encounter them in moist soil, in gardens, or in areas rich in decaying organic matter. They prefer damp environments because their skin must stay moist for proper gas exchange. The body structure of oligochaete are characterized by having few setae, which are tiny brazil-like structures that help them move through soil. Their body is segmented and includes a special thickened bond called the clitellum, which is important during reproduction because it produces the cocoon that hold the developing eggs. One remarkable feature of their body is that arranged in repeating segmented, each containing organs such as nephridia or excretion and muscle layer that allow for efficient movement. This segmentation also helps them burrow effectively while maintaining body structure and flexibility. Example: the most well-known example are earthworms, which are very important in soil ecosystem, and also the tubifex, tubifex worms, commonly found in freshwater habitats and often used as food for aquarium fish. Now, let's go to the class Hirodinia. Hirodinia is which includes various type of leeches. The habitat of this is although many leeches species live in freshwater environments, some can also be found in marine or even terrestrial habitats. For example, you might find them in ponds, lakes, rivers, or moist forest floors. Body structure: leeches have a dorsoventrally flattened body, meaning they are flattened from the top to bottom. Unlike earthworms, they do not have setae or parapodia. Instead, they have two suckers, one located at the anterior end and another at the posterior end. These are used for attachment to the host or surfaces. Their body structure are specially adapted depending on the feeding habits. Some leeches are predators that feed on small invertebrate, while others are famous for their ability to suck blood from fish, amphibians, or mammals. Despite this, many leeches play important roles in aquatic ecosystems and even in medicine. Examples: these classes include different species of medical leeches and aquatic leeches, which have been historically used for removing blood or relieving pressure in surgical treatments. Now let's go to the ecological rules of annelids. Now that we have discussed the three major classes, let's move on to their ecological importance, especially rules of annelids, primarily earthworms on soil health. Earthworms may have seemed simple, but they have considered ecosystem engineers because they dramatically improve the quality and productivity of soil. So the first is the soil enrichment. Earthworms digest dead plant material and microorganisms, breaking them down into simpler organic molecules. The material they increte, called worm castings, is rich in nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. This casting function as a natural fertilizer, helping plants grow healthier and faster. The second is soil aeration. As earthworms burrow through the soil, they create tiny tunnels. These tunnels allow more oxygen and water to enter the soil, improving roots growth and enhancing the soil's ability to retain moisture. Better aeration means plant can absorb nutrient more efficiently. The third is decomposition. Earthworms and other annelids are essential contributors to organic matter decomposition. They help break down dead, dead leaves, decaying woods, and other plants debris. This process is crucial for nutrient cycling, meaning nutrients are returning to the soil and made available to the plants. Without annelids, soil would become compacted, nutrient poor, and less capable of supporting plant life, which would eventually affect the entire ecosystem. Now, let's go to the vital roles played by certain organisms within aquatic environments, specifically focusing on nutrient cycling, habitat stabilization, and their function as a food source. Firstly, let's consider nutrient cycling. Marine annelids, for example, are critical in aquatic ecosystems. These organisms facilitate the breakdown and recycling the organic matter, making essential nutrients available to the other organisms. This process fundamental to the health and productivity of the entire ecosystem. Secondly, the habitat stabilization is another key function. The burrowing activities of various marine organisms, including certain worms and crustaceans, help stabilize sediments on the seafloor on the seafloor. This prevents erosion and maintains the structure of the benthic environment, providing a stable environment for other species. Many marine organisms serve as food source for a wide range of aquatic animals. They are vital link uh, vital link in the food web, supporting larger predators and contributing to the overall biodiversity and stability of the ecosystem. Even fish, as seen in image, benefit from food web. And now, lastly, let's talk about something really fascinating, the food webs. The food webs. Now, you might think of food chains, which are pretty straightforward, like a plant gets eaten by a bug, and the bug gets eaten by the bird. But food webs are way more complex than that. They're like a giant tangled network who eats whom in an ecosystem. And to understand this better, let's focus on a specific group of animals. Annelids. You might know them as segmented worms, like earthworms or leeches. But there are tons of different kinds, especially in the ocean. Now, what really interesting is that annelids are major food source for a huge variety of animals. Think about it. Birds, mammals, even other invertebrate rely on annelids as a meal. Imagine a robin pulling an earthworm out of the ground. That an annelid being a food source. Or picture shorebirds picking and picking at a tiny marine worms on the beach. Those worms are providing essential energy to those birds. Even some mammals like shrews or hedgehogs will munch on annelids. And it's not just the big animals. Smaller invertebrate like insect and crustaceans also feed on annelids. So, why it is important? Well, annelids are linked in the food web. They take from things like decaying organic matter or algae, and then they pass that energy on to the animals that eat them. Without annelids, a lot of animals would struggle to find enough food, and that could have a ripple effect throughout the entire ecosystem. It's like pulling a thread in a sweater. Everything starts to unravel. But here, where it gets even more interesting, annelids aren't just prey. Some of them are also predators. It's easy to think of worms as just being eaten, but some annelids are actually hunters themselves. They might prey on tiny invertebrates like small insects or other worms, helping to keep their population in check. And there another types of annelids that's really important, filter feeders. These guys don't actively hunt, but they play a crucial role in the ecosystem. They filter out tiny particles of organic matter and microorganisms from the water or sediment. Think of them as a little vacuum cleaners, constantly cleaning up the environment. This filter breeding is incredibly beneficial. It helps to maintain water quality by removing excess nutrients and pollutants. It also prevents the buildup of organic matter, which can lead to problems like oxygen depletion. So these filter feeding annelids are basically helping to keep the ecosystem and balance. So, as you can see, annelids have this amazing dual role in food webs. They're both a vital food source for a wide range of animals, and they also predators or filter feeders that help to regulate population and maintain water quality. It's pretty expressive combination, and it shows just how complex and interconnected ecosystem can be. This whole idea of food webs really highlights the interconnectedness of everything in nature. Every organism, no matter how small, play plays a role. And if you remove one piece of the puzzle, it can have unexpected consequences throughout the entire system. That's why it's so important to understand this relationship and protect biodiversity. When we're thinking about conservation and management, we need to consider the entire food web, not just individual species, but for example, if we're trying to protect a certain bird population, we also need to just think about the annelids that those birds rely on for food. Are the annelids population healthy? Are they being affected by the pollution of habitat loss? Or these are the kinds of questions we need to ask. So, to wrap things up, food webs are incredibly complex and important network that connected all living things in an ecosystem. Annelids, with their dual role as both prey and predators, are the great example of how even seemingly small organism can have a huge impact on the health stability of the environment. By understanding this relationship, we can be better steward of our planet and work to protect the biodiversity so that makes our world so amazing. So, from the garden soil to the ocean depths, annelids reveal the interconnectedness of life. Their simple yet effective body plan and diverse ecological rules remind us of the beauty and importance of even the smallest creature in maintaining our planet's health. The world of annelids is rich and fascinating, but many species faces threats of habitat loss and pollution. Let's work together to protect these unsung heroes of our ecosystems, ensuring their vital contribution continue for generations to come. As we continue to explore the natural world, the study of annelids promises new insight into fields ranging from medicine to environmental science. By unraveling their secrets, we can unlock innovative solutions to some of today's most pressing challenges. I've always thought of worms as just, well, worms, but learning about annelids has totally changed my perspective. It's amazing how diversity and importance can be packed into the segmented bodies. It makes you wonder what other hidden wonders are out there, just waiting to be discovered. So, for further information, you can check the references below, and you can check the link there so you can find more information about annelids and how the annelids. So, that's all. Thank you for watching and listening. Bye.